What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1987 Ford F-250 XLT Lariat. Up front is a 6.9-liter diesel V8, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this F-250 because it is so stinking clean. It's a fantastic snapshot of 1980s Ford pickup trucks. It's a very early diesel, and so we have a lot to talk about. And I apologize if there's any yelling in this video because it's currently about 101 degrees and the AC doesn't work. So it's gonna be a rough one, folks. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle to me, you can head on over to my website, zackpraedel.com/submit. Quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out. And please submit your car if you live in a more mild climate. But let's get back to that 6.9-liter diesel V8 under the hood. Well, it's a non-turbo engine and makes about 170 horsepower, which is, well, not a lot, even by V8 standards, even by 80s standards. This was not a very powerful truck. And that's why the 6.9-liter was only available in 1987. For the 1988 model year, they moved up to the 7.3-liter IDI diesel, and then later into the 90s, they moved up to the Power Stroke. So this 6.9-liter was actually left over from the 7th gen F-250, which started life back in 1983. So they did use it for a while, but only for one model year here in this 8th generation of F-Series. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual. It's really a 4-speed with an overdrive, and first gear is such a granny gear. It is essentially useless around town. And now if you're pulling something, you're gonna want that extra power, but driving here on the street, I start it in second and get on my way. Last but not least, this F-250 is of course 4-wheel drive, and we'll talk about how to select that a little bit later on. So how does it feel to drive a 1987 Ford F-250? It's big and brawny, but not in the worst ways possible. It does take bumps rather personally, jumping and jutting you around, but visibility is great, steering input is good. Honestly, the shifter throw and clutch feel is great. The clutch isn't nearly as heavy as the 1991 F-250 that I drove several years ago. It is a pretty lumpy and lazy diesel V8, and I'm shifting gears at about 2,000 RPM just to keep it happy. But hey, it's a diesel, what do you want? All right, 0 to 55. Already into second gear. Third. That's 35. Toss it into fourth. That's 45. Come on, baby. 55. And we'll toss it into fifth. Woo! It ain't quick, but it's honest. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of gauges. Off to the left, I have my battery voltage and coolant temperature, as well as oil pressure and fuel. In the center, I get my speedometer, highlighting 55 miles an hour. And then off to the right, I have my tachometer. Supposedly, all diesels got tachometers, but not all F-250s, so something interesting to note. On the steering wheel, I do have cruise control options, which still work, which is beautiful to see. The steering wheel has really low slung grips, very casual, and I like that about it. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, headlight switches, wiper and washers, and my fuel tank switch. So this F-250 XLT Lariat is outfitted with 2 fuel tanks, so you can use this switch to go between which one you want to use the fuel from. Down to the bottom right of the gauge cluster, I have my wait to start and water in fuel warnings. Something you do not see any more of is the water in fuel warning. We seem to have gotten it down pretty good, but back in the late 80s, I guess not. Off to the left on the door, I do have a little openable smoker's window. Fantastic on a day like today. Crank for the window, and I do get a full door card. The Lariat was a more luxury-oriented trim level, and so you actually got full door cards here in the F-250 when moving up to that trim. Moving into the center, we do have our climate controls. This was a factory AC truck, however, it doesn't work, much to my displeasure today. Then we have the factory Ford radio, cassette player, bass, treble, balance, and fade. I love all of these equalizers and whatnot, and a little digital readout. That just makes me happy. We do get a pull-out ashtray, And we come to the shifter. Now the shifter itself is tall, it is large and in charge, and rather unforgiving. However, it does feel good to shift gears. But off to the left of that, we have our 4-wheel drive settings for 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. Very analog, very muscly, if that makes sense. And then moving up to the bench seat, it is very cushy, very comfortable, very pleasurable. However, this is finished in a seat cover, so this isn't the factory fabric from the F-250, but it looks presentable, it looks period correct, so it makes me happy. And although it does have cushy seats, what it doesn't have is a cup holder, so by default, the 1987 Ford F-250 fails the big friggin' bottle test. However, we don't have any back seats. Let's hop out and do a bed review. Right around the back of the 87 Ford F-250, we do have a tailgate here. Again, this chrome strip, that is part of the Lariat. Pop it down, very simple, and you know what? They use these same straps on the modern F-150. But anyway, big bed. I don't see anything really to note. No crazy tie downs besides up at the top there. Plenty of space. You know, this was a workhorse. This was something you were supposed to take out to the farm, out on a job site, and toss whatever the heck you wanted in the back whenever the heck you needed it. And so that is what the F-250 does very well. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and the Lariat does get a lot of added chrome and some nice trims here and there, but overall, the F-250 from 1987 is so unapologetic. It's just here, it's a truck. It doesn't give a flying rip what you think of it. It has headlights so you can see at night. It has a tailgate so you can fit stuff in the bed. Everything else can go kick rocks. I like that about it. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1987 Ford F-250 XLT Lariat? Well, I thought this was really exciting and interesting because of the IDI diesel under the hood. IDI was built by International. It's what the I stands for. And it's what Ford used for their diesels before they switched over to Powerstroke, which is their in-house diesel builder. And so driving a truck like this, it's an interesting snapshot of sort of the early diesels from Ford. And I have to equate it to one of my favorite baseball players of all time, Sammy Sosa.
And a high fly ball belted right center field. There it goes, number 500.
Sammy Sosa played for the Chicago Cubs from 1992 until 2004. He was known as Slammin' Sammy and was known for slamming home runs throughout a couple of seasons that he was in play. But this truck is like Sammy Sosa in 1989. He played for the Texas Rangers, and not many people remember that, but that was his start to Major League Baseball. Well, the story of Ford diesel trucks follows a similar path. Here we have in the 80s, the IDI. Wasn't really spectacular, not much of interest. But then in the early 90s, they switched to the 7.3 liter IDI, and then the Powerstroke. That's when Sammy joined the Cubs, baby. And the Powerstroke diesel is synonymous with fantastic engines from Ford. The 7.3 liter Powerstroke might go down as one of the best diesel engines ever put into a truck. Although, much like Sammy Sosa, their reign came to an end in 2004. Well, the 7.3 liter in 2003 and Sammy Sosa in 2004. The reason I bring that up and draw a comparison to a outdated Cubs player with a scandal, which, let's be honest, also later Powerstrokes had scandals of their own, the 6.4. We don't talk about the 6.4 liter, and we don't talk about the corked bats. We just don't. This is the genesis. This is the early days. This is before the wave, before it was cool, before it was something so special and so modern. But the stepping stones were there. It's diesel. These are pretty reliable. They were available to consumers and very, very useful. And so that's why driving this F-250 was so exciting to me. Not only because it is the genesis, the early days of the diesel, but also because this is such a clean example. You don't often see these trucks saved or preserved because they were used, abused, and thrown away. And that makes sense. They were and are farm equipment and industrial equipment. But today, I hope you enjoy seeing a couple of good shots of this very clean 1987 Ford F-250. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Andre for letting me take out his F-250. I've filmed a bunch of his cars in the past that you'll see here. He's been absolutely awesome to work with, and I'm sure I'll film something else from him somewhat in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're staying cool wherever you are. I'm not crying, I'm just sweating profusely. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, there it is, third, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.